You're listening to the Beat Motel Zine podcast, and we need to warn you that we use words like shit, bollocks, scrotics, fuck, anarcho-syndicalist, and cunt, and we don't normally beep those words out, apart from the word cunt, because we're not total animals. Now, we know as well as you that your children can hear these words on any street in Britain, possibly any street anywhere in the world, but we also appreciate that you may not want to invite these words into your home if you have children or sensitive pets nearby whilst listening to this podcast. So listener discretion is advised. That being said, if your children aren't allergic to hearing words like fuck, shit, buttocks or hind penis, they might learn something from listening to this podcast, although probably not, because the quality of our educational content is quite poor. So there you go, fuckers, buckle in and let's get started.
Hello. If you put like your other, sorry for people listening on podcast, not watching on video, if you put your other finger up the other nostril, can you rub them together? You can sort of feel it in there like that. Oh, I just found a massive sharp bogey. Welcome to the classiest music podcast there is. I'm going to put some hand sanitizer on my hands now because I've just walked to work and it's like -4 here. And I'm not complaining about the temperature because it'll be a lot colder where you are, Sam, but I forgot to put my remote heater on before I left for the office this morning. So you'll probably, look, where am I? It's 11 degrees in here.
What do we have? Today, -7 feels like -13. No?
I always like the feels like thing.
Yeah, at that point you're looking at how bad the wind is, and if the wind's like up, you're just going.
That being said, you went out on your bike. Was it yesterday you went out for a bike ride?
No, yesterday was tires. No, yeah, I've got spikes on my bike, and I went out the day before yesterday. Yesterday would have been impossible because it snowed all day, and it was impossible to move around. I'll send you a video of my son trying to force his sled down a hill, a small hill. Stuck. The snow is coming up to about his neck.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Right, should we do Riff of the Week? I'm going to try and keep to time this episode.
Go for it.
So the first Riff of the Week is from... Did you introduce ourselves? We didn't, did we? I'm Andrew Culture.
I'm Dave.
In Ipswich. And we have Dave, the Demolition, Derby, Delicious, Sam. Does that work?
Hi, yes, hi. I'm Delicious.
Here's a riff. Which part of that was the riff? Can you hum the riff?
Oh, do boom boom.
I suppose it was. I thought it was that. Who was that, Sam?
I'm sure they really appreciate how viciously we replicated their music.
I think that ought to be a challenge each week. We ought to challenge each other to hum the riff from Riff of the Week.
That was Seavus Finns, Aeons of the Spiritual Starvation. They are not a Finnish band; they're a Portuguese band. And I was wasting time on Bandcamp a few weeks ago, and they came up. And it's one of those what seem to be very good at the moment, sort of extra, a bit avant-garde black metal, and they're sort of in line with. They go a bit more death metal in a lot of the rest of the album.
I like that.
And chunkier riffs and slow it down a bit. But yeah, great album, great band. Don't know anything else about them. Portuguese, apparently. Yeah, impressed by the album.
I like it a lot. I'm definitely going to listen to that. That appeals to so many things I like in music. Well, is there much of a metal scene in Portugal? I know it's a horribly white British guy to ask, thing to ask. But the only reason I ask is one of my favourite bands, I think it was the year before last, Gallagher, are Portuguese as well. I know it's only like 2 bands now, but
there's Moonspell as well, isn't there? Who
Oh,
are legendary.
yeah, a friend of mine was their orchestrator.
Mm.
He have I told you that before?
Yeah. I think when we were at Helsinki.
So that's very cool. I'm gonna excuse me, listeners. I was at the pub till very, very late last night, so my voice is a little bit lower. Working. It was a work thing. Honest. Now this track, I am going to play it, and then I'm going to ask you what you think it is, Sam, and you're not going to know, and then I'm going to tell you, and then I'm just put it this way: I never ever thought I would choose something for anything on the Beat Motel podcast that had this person involved. But the other person involved has been on loads of tracks that I've chosen.
His voice, that's awful.
Do you know? So can you
hum the riff first? Hum the riff.
I can hum the bass line.
Yeah.
So,
but the bass and the drums are what's keeping it together. The rest of it's sort of floating around.
That's good description.
Is it Knowles? Is it Noel?
It's the other one. Yeah, they're
Liam.
It's Liam's far more nasally than Noel.
Liam
Gallagher.
Does he understand he has a throat, or is it just all nose? Or body, a chest? He can use his chest. I wonder what his chest voice sounds like.
It's probably like proper metal, like a growl.
It might be. He might have a very nice chest voice. It's his nasal. I don't know. It's just like, frankly, the internet's sort of lagging a little bit when you play these things, so I have to sort of listen through quite a bit of bitty distortion, and it didn't complement his sound.
It's an odd thing, but that I chose that because the other part of it is it's Liam Gallagher and John Squire, and John Squire's guitarist to the Stone Roses.
Okay,
who is absolutely playing like quite old Stone Rosy type things there. I love all the black backward guitar, but I chose it because it came up on the radio when I was in the kitchen, and it was a bit without Liam Gallagher singing, and I just thought, I like this. This sounds all right. I like this sort of like psychedelic swooshy sort of guitar stuff. And then Liam Gallagher opened his pie hole, and I just thought, what the fuck is going on here? So the fact is, it's John Squire and Liam Gallagher it's just really interesting. But what I've just realised hearing it then is that the amount I like it drops by about 23% each time I hear it. So like the first time when I accidentally heard it, it's 100% like, this is cool. Then it was about 75 the next time it came on. Then I showed Emma, my wife, on YouTube, and it dropped to about 50. So we're now down to about 25.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, do you think it's them sort of rehashing past glories, or are they doing something genuinely new?
There is something new about it, but having heard that again, that it's Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles. When you hear the whole of the song, it that's exactly what it is. It's a lot more layers of guitar, but it's Tomorrow Never Knows by the Beatles. And I shall give them no more airtime unless you want to.
No, go. I just think it's interesting that they've got together to do something that sounds like what Liam's band was endlessly accused of just doing, essentially.
I think Noel was always keeping them dialed back from being an out-and-out Beatles rip-off, being them like a carbon copy. But obviously without him there, Liam Gallagher can sort of push it a bit more. But I'm really surprised John Squire's doing something so obviously such an obvious homage to the Beatles, because it was through Stone Roses that I learned about bands like Love and Big Star and loads of the sort of the late 60s, early 70s psychedelia kind of thing. So it's
more on the Nuggets sort of side of things.
Oh yeah, God, Nuggets. That'd be quite a good. I need to listen to it again, but Nuggets would be quite a good episode to do. Me and Rocky, these are End Times guitarist, actually pondered whether we'd like to start a covers band that just covers the Nuggets album.
A lot of that stuff is, a lot of that stuff is great.
That'd be quite a fun thing to do, and yeah, I think it would really connect with people. God knows if I could actually play any of that, but. Right, should we move on to the theme? What's the theme for this episode, Dr. Sam?
Oh, well, we didn't do this at the end, and we're a bit late in doing it. It's the best of 2023, according to ourselves.
Let's kick it off by playing your first choice.
Niggas don't rap no more, they just sell clothes. So I should probably quit and start a line of bathroom. Somehow, like this Siri and Siri, if I'm that nigga, should probably answer back, don't ask me stupid shit, my nigga. I'm a stone cold degenerate, working out with no membership. A minute late, you wonder where the bitches went. My manuscript, I can't handle it. Eat your ass like I'm cannabis. I show up on your screen like televangelist.
That is absolutely the forbidden music in my house, but tell me who that was.
That's JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown doing Garbage Pail Kids. And I just want to look up a lyric.
That's one of the...
Eating your ass.
Eating a thatch, was that?
No, eating your ass.
Eating your axe?
Eating your ass like I'm Canubis.
Oh, and like Anubis, what the Greek god, Egyptian god?
Canubis.
That's weird. Anubis, god of truth, or is it death? I can't remember which. That's one of the filthiest, lyrics aside, that's one of the filthiest bits of music I've heard probably for quite a while. That thumping broken bass is, oh God, it's gorgeous. I love it.
Well, so eating your ass like I'm Canubis. I show up on your screen like a televangelist, and I have faith that I can clap those cheeks like.
Clap those cheeks. Oh,
dear boy. What a dear boy Danny Brown is. It's just, that album was by far away, for me, last year, it was by far away the one. I don't know if I listened to it the most, but it's certainly the one that stood out the most in terms of sheer sort of like it's held. It sounds like it's held together by Scotch tape.
I adore that though with any type of music.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just like being thrown together, and it's really rough around the edges, and it's all a bit insane, and it's just. The vocal style of Danny Brown particularly matches sort of the unwieldiness of the music. That's not to say JPEG Mafia doesn't do a great thing, what he does in the album. It's just because he produces the whole album, he made all the beats and stuff. It's just unwieldy and brilliant and pretty insane and well done to them.
Was it a Danny Brown track you chose a few weeks ago about gentrification or something?
Yeah.
I just need to if I don't come back to you by the next episode and tell you I've extensively listened to Danny Brown, then we need to have some kind of intervention.
He's I don't know, for me, I'm not a massive hip hop person by any stretch of the imagination.
Just by saying hip hop person just proves it. I'm not one of those hip hop fellows.
I'm not one of those hip hoppers. By any stretch of the imagination, but Danny Brown just sticks out like a sore thumb as and the projects he surrounds himself with, like this JPEG Mafia one. I need to go and check out JPEG Mafia now because that album is it's so good.
Have you ever tried to make music like that?
Not like that, no. I always found you can, doodling around on the bass, seem to when I doodle around on my bass plugged into a guitar, and I either seem to produce lazy hip hop stuff that's a bit a Tribe Called Questy, or when I put the distortion on, it just all goes a bit stoner metal.
It's just like default setting for both of us, I think. I just thought, I have tried to make music like that, and it's kind of like free jazz. When you first hear free jazz, you're like, well, this is just a load of bollocks, kind of thrashing around all over the place, until you realise it really isn't. I've just thought, though, you sent a video with your bass. Was that going through your computer?
Yes, yeah.
Have you got an interface?
Yeah.
Why are you still recording with earbuds if you've got an interface? Oh, that's it. Somewhere else, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will bring, next time I come over, I'm going to bring a microphone for you, so we can, just like a USB one, so that we can make you sound like really sexy. Like I clearly sound.
That's going to be a lot of modification on your part.
Yeah, but cool. I love hip hop, and I always like anything that isn't just trying to perfect the kind of the meme that's already existed of hip hop. So my Outcast, I always thought were quite interesting, because they're pushing it, and I love stuff like clipping, which isn't probably actually hip hop. And I like Wu-Tang, but I kind of almost like it for what it was doing at the time. And early Eric B and Rakim. I'm just trying to think of like the real touchstone people, the people who really moved it forward. There's a brilliant hip hop documentary. Oh God, right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, People Under the Stairs. There's loads of innovators.
I have to say, as far as a lyricist goes, I really, really, really like Ice-T, because I can follow him. Frankly, I can follow. He has that ability. He's really clear in the story that he's telling. You can follow it as a story, and you don't need to like a lot of the stuff that came out. I would say like Nas and all that sort of stuff. It lost me, because there's this cultural shift to this language that I don't really sort of follow. I never really understood the appeal of Nas. The Tribe Called Quest, I never, great. It's just great, but as a storyteller, Ice-T always been incredible to me.
Tribe, it's just it's the vibe. It's just the smoothness and the flow of all of it.
But as like a story, I don't know, Ice-T's the only one that, to me, is like, he's like the hip hop not Woody Guthrie, hip hop Hank Williams. You can follow the story of it very easily.
Absolutely. I sometimes get Ice-T and Ice Cube confused. Which one was in
NWA?
Was
the one in NWA.
Oh, in that case, I'm thinking the whole time you've been talking about Ice-T, I've been thinking about Ice Cube. Let's move on from that, and I'm going to play you.
Ice-T is the one in. He's got
Tank
Body
Girl.
Count. Body Count.
You sure that wasn't Ice Cube?
It's Ice-T.
Oh God, bloody hell! Right, so this was a standout track for you, but you say it's not a track that you necessarily listen to. I've kind of gone the other way, and for my first choice, I looked at. I use Tidal, as you know, because I'm on your account, and I skimmed through the things that I've saved. You can like add tracks, and for one thing, I was amazed how much I've saved. So thank you for that, because I've discovered so much music through that, the algorithm on that. But then I found a band who I have listened to a lot, and it not like chin stroking listening to, but here in the office I've listened to them a lot, and I'm going to play you a bit of it. And I've deliberately chosen a bit that kind of highlights one of the reasons I really love this band. So I'm just going to pause it for a minute. It goes completely out of time, doesn't it? And this is sort of the middle eight of a track. Oh, we did middle eight. Middle eight of a track that just completely threw me. I had to stop work and just sort of like pay attention to it. But anyway, I'll play it again. It sounds like it's going to build, and then it goes weird. didn't have time for much of the actual song, but that's Agriculture, which I think is the worst name for a band I think I've possibly ever heard. And they might pop up
next episode. Yeah,
I was going to say, next episode I may well choose them because it's just such a fucking terrible name. And that song's called Look Part 3.
Yeah, I have to rejig my list for that one. That's great.
For me, that kind of black metal it's the oral equivalent of like suddenly getting so excited at watching a TV program that you stand up off your settee and just point like that, just kind of like.
But it's interesting because it makes me think that, and Seavus Fins, who we heard at the beginning of the episode, makes me think. And there's this Antifax or whatever they're called, Canadian band who really play with. It's like black metal musicians have finally figured out you don't have to do everything at the same tempo. And the drummer doesn't have to do the same thing all the time.
Mm.
And they can play and push and pull people with their music. That's great. Because that is sort of like, yeah, you're going, okay, what's happening here? Oh, they're building back into something. Oh, that's not what I thought they were going to build back into. That's fantastic.
It doesn't get old either, because I think when you put tricks in songs, which I might accuse that of being, they get old really fast and they lose their appeal and they can end up just being annoying. That album by Agriculture, there are so many bits in it that are so bloody weird, but just so brilliant, and they never detract. It's almost like Breathing Space, because that track's about 7 or 8 minutes long, and if it was just full on for the entire time, it'd just be much too much. But they're American. There's a sort of a geek, almost like a geek chic in black metal coming along at the moment. Where you look at these guys and you think, yeah, they're at university, and one of them's studying biochemistry, and I don't know what they do for a living at all, but very cool. Are you looking them up?
Yeah, they really don't sort of strike me as the coolest looking people in the world.
I like this is what got me into
they're
metal.
at agricultural college.
That would be amazing. But this is what got me into metal, is that I was always put off by the look and like the stance and whatever. And it was when I went to go and see metal bands who just looked like complete geeks that I suddenly started to really fall in love with it. Now I love the dressing up and the whole shebang, but that just put me off for so long.
You know, like any sort of thing, it's all like a bit of a costume, isn't it? I've been wearing band t-shirts since before I was since I was 10 or something. Partly because I think my parents were just a bit indulgent of that sort of side of things. Like I've got
it's a lovely thing to be indulgent of.
I was 10-year-old, and I think my mum liked the idea that me and my brother had my older brother had matching t-shirts. So he had Use Your Illusion 1 and I had Use Your Illusion 2 Guns N' Roses t-shirts.
That's absolutely adorable. Oh god, I'm going to make a note of the timestamp, because I want to add that. That's to the clips. If anyone who's listening to this, do follow us on TikTok and Instagram, because I'm trying to post a clip a day now, just to try and sort of build up a following. We are getting followers on these platforms, but it's like I saw, that's a similar thing I saw. I can't even remember where I was, but I was somewhere, and this woman she had twins, and these kids were, I don't know, 4 or 5 each, and they both had red hoodies on, and one of them said Thing 1 and the other one said Thing 2, like from Dr. Zeus. I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. Like almost like, I'm glad you spawned. It was worth it for that moment that you bought those tops for your kids. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. That's absolutely fantastic.
You put your body through that just to have that little thing.
Just for a visual gag. Just
for a visual gag.
Just for a joke. That's awesome. Right, so that was Agriculture, and let's move on to your next choice. Wow, that's a lot. Who is it?
At Squid Pisser, the second time they featured on this with the song Both, and that is they are, I think they're American based, but let me just see something.
I'm going to say that if anyone who's not heard Squid Pisser before and thinks that track is cool, that's a bit much, or there's quite a lot going on, the video for that track, I physically struggle to watch it. It is so over the top. There is so much going on the screen, and there is so much detail. It is more caustic than the music, which is remarkable. I mean, I applaud them just for that.
Well, that's that thing that I think I find attractive, is that in a day and age where I think it is quite hard to produce genuinely challenging grindcore, but some grindcore punk rock, and that's grindcore firmly rooted in punk rock rather than rooted in metal, I would say. And there's a significant distinction in that the grindcore rooted in punk rock tends to be a lot sharper and a lot nastier, and they get to that sort of like, they're following on from a band, The Locust, which one of them is in Death Club, which is got one of the main guys from The Locust in, and it's an album that is just pulls no punches, and it just is brutal and disturbing. Visually, they're very good at sort of producing disturbing visuals, and it's just like, it's one of those things. My brain just goes, yeah, that's I'll have that. And I completely understand when someone else hears that and goes, oh, that's no, it's a bit too much, but it ticks a lot of boxes on this side. And also, I love the use of electronics on it. Actually,
I'm sort of like fascinated by them, but almost like it's almost like in the early days of the internet, when people were emailing photos around, when just sort of like the sharing of things. I mean, like 1998 time, and somebody sent me a picture of, like, it was something like halfway, like a post-mortem, like something. I was just like, why the fuck have you sent me that? But I was also kind of curious as well, not to like look at it for very long, but just kind of like, oh, that's like a view into something that is really, really challenging. And I think with Squid Pisser, it's like that. Bear in mind, I go to gigs and put on gigs where people shout through distortion pedals and make the most abrasive sounds they possibly can, to the extent that I arrived today and in the room outside my studio, there was somebody with an angle grinder cutting through rusty metal. And I literally thought, do you know what? Put that through a Boss heavy metal distortion pedal and then put an envelope filter on it and put a beat behind it. That would sound really cool. So bear in mind my tastes. I'm not just like, hey, I'm all about the smooth at all. And yet Squid Pisser, I still struggle with. I really, and I don't know what it is. I don't hate it. I really, really don't. It's so much. It's so much.
It is, and I think that's that thing of, it cuts through a lot of noise, and it cuts through, and it is very sort of like, I don't know, they just have a thing that my ears just went. My brain is just sort of rewarding
me with the words.
I enjoy it so much, I forget how speak works.
I'm more interested in that and how that's made and how that's written than I am almost any other music. Metal, I'm obsessed with figuring out how they do it, because it's and techno, because it's part of my connection to it is that I sort of made some of that stuff. But because I'm teaching myself guitar, I've been reading like guitar technique magazines, and for one thing, I've struggled massively because it's all tab, and I don't really like. I learn from being in a band and watching people, but then I go and look up some guitarists. After reading the tab, I go and look up their videos on YouTube, and I realise I've got no fucking interest in learning how they play like that at all. I don't care how they couldn't give a shit. Yeah. Squid Pisser, that really, really interests me. And I'm like, how are they doing that? So,
well, it's that thing with like this. It's a similar thing with Dillinger Escape Plan, early Dillinger Escape Plan, where you have basically, the technicality is not, and the genius is not in the notes that they're playing in a way, but it's the rhythm they're producing. It's nice to know I'm being listened to.
I did back away from the mic.
But it's like, Dillinger Escape Plan has, particularly the earlier stuff, has that sort of. It's not about sweep picking and all this stuff, which a lot of other stuff is, but it's about this sort of stabs and how do you create this sort of dissonance, and a lot of it, I think, it is the technicality of the rhythm that gets to me, and it's also like a lot of more basic punk stuff is sold on the singer, I would say. A lot of the grindcore stuff is sold on the drummer. You need that insane drummer.
Just how do you be in a band like that? How do you tour? How do you muster that energy every single night?
I think it's quite. Let's play a sad one today, guys. Play slow and sad. I'm not feeling that grindcore jive.
You say that Agriculture album, the second track on it, is not metal in any way whatsoever. They've done it before. They did another release where one of the tracks in the middle was like trad folk. Like the people who play stuff that was genuinely written in the 13th century. That kind of. There's a track like that, and the second track on the Agriculture is just sort of a nice song, and then it just blasts back into the black metal. But that's cool. Thanks for bringing Squid Pisser to the choice. Did you tell us why it's your choice, or was the whole conversation we've had for the last 5 minutes explaining that?
That's why you're listening to me very closely. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to play a band now, which is another band that I'm surprised I chose, and I will explain why. But listen to the lyrics, because I particularly like the lyrics.
The trench coat got banned for a bit. Does that conjure up any weird feelings? Knowing all kinds of twisted minds can find it a prime coat within which to conceal things. You can't ban a coat, can you? Can you ban a coat? No, they're just running a racket. The only coat that matters now is a floating coat. So get yourself a log jacket. Can you hack it? Can you hack the heat? Water rising. Look at your feet, man. Ah! 'Cause whether rented, borrowed, bought, stole, second hand or brand new.
Do you want to even have a guess? I don't know if you'd even know who that is outside of the UK. Do you know what? No, not at all. It's a band called Yard Act. And
who sound like Sleaford Mods?
Sounds fucking nothing like Sleaford Mods. It's a guy not quite singing. So I guess you could say that, and it's not rapping. It's the sort of the well-timed talking.
I came up with a term for that whole sort of scene, because that's sort of what slaves do as well, and it's what idols do.
Slaves have changed their name.
Because someone probably schooled them on the term slaves, and they thought that's not a great idea. So what are they called now?
So Yard Act, I chose that because they played at Brighton the Corners, which is an Ipswich festival, like a multi-venue festival in Ipswich, which is always fantastic. And they were really sold for the first album as being like, a bit like The Fall. And they were kind of a little bit like The Fall, if The Fall were actually interesting, or a bit more interesting. I do like some of The Fall.
Slaves are now called Soft Play,
which I think is a wonderful about face in terms of naming. But Yard Act came back with this second album quite quickly, and it's so different. It is a bunch of people in a studio really just pressing all the buttons and having a play with it. And that track, The Trenchcoat Museum, it's just delightful nonsense, basically. That little bit I chose is like, the trench coat got banned for a while because people try and hide things in it. It's just nonsense. But we're going to go see them at Norwich UEA, a whole bunch of us, including Emma. And I think it'll be a good night out.
So what I want to say is that I came up with a term for all these bands, and I think it sort of starts, the popularity of this style of vocal delivery, I think, starts with Sleaford Mods. And I came up, I call it particularly after Slaves. I think it's Yobcore.
Yobcore.
Because it is sort of like there's a aspect of these male, and it's predominantly male. There is, what's it called, a laundromat. Is it laundromat? They have there's one that has, one of these bands has a female singer.
Yard Act, I wouldn't say they're yobbish. They're another geek band. If you look at them, they are a bunch of geeks, and I say that as a geek, as an identifier and a celebration.
But I think the delivery of the vocals leans into a masculine way of delivering it. They could
That's
choose.
really interesting.
They could choose to deliver, and we have control, and particularly people in the front of the band are performing a particular way of, any singer, any vocalist is performing a particular way, and they're leaning into a particularly British male way of delivering their vocals.
It's really interesting because I think Yobcore's a brilliant title, but all of the bands, soft play as they are now, Sleaford Mods, Yard Act, I'm trying to think who else. In terms of their politics, they're all very right on, and they are very complete opposite of actually being yobs. And you've made me really think. It's almost like they're taking ownership over those traits of masculinity and making them positive again, turning it around away from the laddish blokiness to kind of like it being a little bit more intelligent. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Neither you or I are blokey blokes in any way at all.
But that's a really interesting point of like, what are they? That's a really interesting question of how are they using their vocals to perform, and what are they doing? Because something like I would put Idols because along with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the guy can't sing for shit, and yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's okay. That's really interesting. You're giving me something to think about.
Idols interest me. They're about to release an album, so they're pumping out the singles at the moment, and they've done a song which, oh shit, I wish I knew what it was called. I might send you a link afterwards because to me it's the singer trying to sing, and he's doing all right. It's very narrow range, but he's doing a good job of it. But the music to me really reminds me of a song by The Clash, and it's a song that was used as backing by, I think it's the right one, used as a backing track by MIA. The British Sri Lankan.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's a rapper or an artist, or she's sort of an all-rounder, I think. But yeah, interesting stuff. So let's move on. Now that I've made you think, let's choose the next of your things. And anyone who's listening thinking that Sam and I are only into metal, then why would anyone dislike that? Who was it, and why'd you choose it, Sam?
Gard Nielsen Supersonic Orchestra, the Space Dance Experiment.
Just all of that. Just say that again, a little bit slower, because I just want to drink it in.
Gard Nielsen's Supersonic Orchestra with the song "The Space Dance Experiment." Came out last year. I didn't see them when they played Helsinki because we were on a short boat to Stockholm, and they are about 18-person orchestra made of all mostly Northern European musicians, predominantly
18?
Nordic. Yeah, like 3
Imagine that
drummers,
minibus.
2 bassists, and I don't want to sit on Harry's lap, not again.
Yeah, who gets to use the roof as a bed tonight? Take it in turns.
I think, and they sort of do. I really like a jazz album when you can hear people sort of screaming encouragement and they're really into it. And Charles Mingus albums are really good for that sort of stuff as well. And I think it's it just sort of, I really love the sort of the bigness of the sound. And
would that be a standing up gig? Because I can't. If there's that many people, it sounds like it'd be in the UK. They'd play somewhere like the Barbican, but I would struggle to sit down to that. It would feel like a waste of energy.
No, I think you could sort of stand up to that stuff. You could dance a little bit.
No, that's what I mean. Would it be like a stand up gig, or would it be a seated gig?
I think it could be either. I've seen the Sunrise Orchestra, which at the Barbican, and that's seated. But I've also seen Killing Joke at the Royal Festival, and that was seated. Even though
wow, that's weird.
The seats were not used. Yeah, I wouldn't say the seats were used. But, I mean, this is just really, really. I'm getting a bit insulted here.
But that's wonderful. And yet another thing I'm going to look up. Jazz seems to be getting very trendy again.
Yeah.
Is that because of you?
No, I don't know. I don't really know what's happening with jazz.
Do you see who won the Mercury Prize? Oh, no. It must have been last year. It's a band called the Ezra Collective.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
And there's them and the Comet are coming, and there's just a whole sort of like bubbling up from the underground of jazz. And I love the fact that underground jazz is even a thing, because Ezra Collective I think they're from London, but the drummer, who's kind of the spokesman, is also a youth worker. Actually, the singer of Idols was a youth worker as well. And just their message, that they use the platform of becoming a popular band and winning the Mercury Prize to constantly drum home the message that all children should have access to creativity. And they played Glastonbury Festival, which just gets like blanket coverage on the BBC now. And almost like between every other song, there was a little talk given by a member of the band about the importance of encouraging children to be creative. And then to put their money where their mouth was, they got the music department, or loads of kids who were studying music at a high school somewhere near them in London, transported all of them to Glastonbury Festival. And then one by one, they came onto the stage and did a solo. Each of these kids did a solo at Glastonbury during this Ezra Collective track. And I just thought, that's the fucking coolest thing ever. That's really not just sort of going on about how kids should have access to creativity. Going, right, we're going to bring a busload from London and they are all going to get to play at Glastonbury Festival. And I thought, that band, that's just, wow, that's amazing. Got a bit emotional then.
I really hope, like, imagine being the one person whose mum doesn't sign or dad doesn't sign the, I trust these people form thing.
Oh, good, yeah. Oh, dear me, I was just thinking about the things that Izzy's getting up to. My daughter's getting up to at high school now. I've just got to share this with you. I don't know if the listeners will care, but she was. We have to send in boxes of food for what they call food tech. So she was making croquette monsieur yesterday. And at lunchtime, she sent a photo of what she'd made. Emma replied, "You don't have to eat it if you don't want to." I'll send it to you afterwards. It's so bad. It is so bad. Bless her. Right, let's let's move on. So we had some really, really interesting choices, and I really didn't want mine to all be metal.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a band who I think had just released one of the best albums of their career last year, and I saw them play at Tufnell Park Dome, and they put on a cracking show, and they sound like this. Woohoo! That's do you want to have a guess?
No.
That's Wolfheart.
Oh, Wolfheart.
Which I kind of get why other people might not like Wolfheart, but to me, I genuinely don't know why they're not a massive band. So there's so much quality to them. But that was because I have just listened to that album so much, and I've seen them and talked about them ad nauseum.
But that's that thing. I think you can have these sort of best of year things, and you sort of go, oh, this is the most interesting thing I've listened to, or you can go, actually, this is just, I don't know what's, and this is what is really difficult, I think, for music journalists, is that some things are just good.
Exactly. I can't really tell you why I like Wolfheart. I just know that when I put them on, I enjoy listening to them. That's pretty much it. It's that is your lot. There's a lot of culturally metal stuff I like about them. I like that they're Finnish. I like that their videos are all filmed in the snow and the woods, and I like that there's a guitarist on an outcrop of rock over a stream playing a solo, which makes just no fucking sense at all. If like that was Guns N' Roses or something, I'd be like, look at that shit. Somebody in Finland wearing leather and with a horrible spiky guitar, I'm like, that's cool as shit.
Well, I hope the leather's well kept, because the snow's going to fucking ruin it.
Right, I got nothing much more to say about that. So on to your last choice. I'm going to have to listen to this album.
That's Cruelty Reincarnation.
How'd you spell Cruelty?
With a K, because it's just...
You know that's because of Google. Google have changed the way bands choose a name for their band.
Oh, go on.
It's because if they were Cruelty with a C, no one would find them on Google. If you're Cruelty with a K, you'll be the only result, and people will get straight to it. It's like Churches is spelt with two V's in the middle.
That's very interesting. They're a Japanese band.
Oh, really? Cool.
They, it could just be because they don't have to spell cruelty, but I think they are much more. I mean, it's sort of death metal with at least 1 foot in like metallic hardcore, old school metallic hardcore. None of this sort of clean singing shit. And they this again, it's like this has been by far the most metal heavy episode we've done in a long time since we started, really. And I think that's just because you start by talking about what you're listening to, and you end up talking about actually, we've gone into a lot of other different interesting parts of the culture, but at the same time, like, this is the stuff that has picked up my ears last year rather, and it's just and I suspect if we manage to do this for another year, it'll be much the same story, because there's something that my brain is rewarded when I listen to that stuff rather than when I listen to indie.
It's so visceral, and it's not that I don't like aggressiveness in life as a whole. I don't see this sort of music as aggressive at all. Not even Squid Pisser. It's more playful than aggressive, but that Cruelty, every time you've played me Cruelty, I'm just amazed. There's always something I pick out each time, and that time the production is so fucking good. To have so much going on, and that snare just goes bang, bang, really. Oh, it's just wonderful. What a great band. That everyone, where I'm in my studio today, the other company that's out there, on Fridays they'll go home at about noon, and that's when I turn the music up and I can listen to it much louder, because the other company here is like a little bit further away. I think Cruelty will be on my list today. So thank you for that, Sam. Right, we're going to move on to my last choice. This is another one that I looked at how often I've been listening to various people, and then I found out that this artist is someone I've listened to a lot. And the weird thing is, it's not like I can pick out any particular one of his songs, but just it's another what's it called? Brain reward thing. We keep talking about it. Endorphin? No, dopamine. It's another dopamine hit for me, absolutely. But I've chosen something that's not usual for his oeuvre, or his output, and here it is. That's Daniel Avery, and that track is New Faith. Have you heard of Daniel Avery? He was a DJ. He started DJing really, really young, like techno clubs in London, and got really quite famous as a DJ. And like a lot of DJs do, he started putting out music, started making techno. And when being unkind, a lot of DJs who do that then make very generic techno. Which is all right, but it's not particularly interesting to me because punk rock ruined my life. I need something that's usually need something that's pushing the envelope in some way. So he had a couple of quite big hits with some sort of interesting, well done sort of commercial techno that sort of top 20. It would have been top 20 singles kind of thing when we were younger. And went away for a bit and came back, and that's the first track off his album from last year. And it's just a piano riff that gradually gets more and more bit crushed, more and more distorted, until by the end of the track, it's just noise, basically, just sort of like really thick noise. And I chose that track because to have had such big hits doing ear-pleasing techno, and to have the opening of your next album, the much anticipated next album, doing something that is sonically quite interesting and challenging and is not a radio friendly unit shifter, I just thought it was cool.
It's ambient. You'd say jazz is in, ambient is very in, isn't it?
It is, and I think Brian Eno's waited a while for people to start buying his old albums, and they might do that now.
Well, I would like to shout out to Marconi Union their track Weightless, which was the only peer-reviewed track around that has been proven to send people to sleep.
Oh, you've told me about this before.
And you can but you need to listen to it on headphones. This is the caveat. It doesn't work on speakers. It doesn't work through your phone. You need to listen to it on a good pair of headphones because you need that sort of subconscious kick drum they have in it.
What would trouble me about that is that I have these things.
AirPods.
So AirPods, because I'm an Apple wanker. And it would trouble me if I went to sleep with these in. I don't know how I'm so sure of this, but I know one of them would come out, and I know they fall out because I walk to work and back every day, and more than a few times I've seen them flattened on the road where they clearly must have fallen out of people's ears and been run over. But if that song put me to sleep perfectly, I know that I'd roll over and swallow an earbud. And I don't think the things that are in earbuds would do well for my IBS in my stomach.
But you might get it back, but would you really want to put it back in your ear?
Oh, now it fits snugly. Look, now it's like it's glued in somehow. If you stop your earbuds falling out, poo!
Such a classy organisation we are.
Oh, we are who we are. I'm. This is my year of not removing my filter, because I think when people go, I am as what you see is what you get, or I can got to be true to myself, and I think no, people who say that fundamentally misunderstand how humans interact with each other. Sure. But I'm spending this year being a lot less scared of just being as daft as I actually am. I put a video on my. Did I send you the video I put on my LinkedIn yesterday? It's like behind the scenes. I'll send you links behind the scenes at my company, and it's me. You probably could envision what that is going to be like before I've even sent it to you. And what's happened is everyone thinks it's really funny. So I might belch less. I do apologise for that.
It's more like belching when people are speaking. Is the
I should just
aspect that upsets me.
It's the sorry, like yes, interrupting. Was it? Can you hold in a belch? I don't know. Anyway, I shall endeavour not to do that again.
If you're holding a belch, doesn't come out as a fart.
Eventually, I suppose. I don't know, or it might like come out my eye socket or something.
Maybe.
Right, we are actually on time, so I'm going to wrap it up there. Listener, thank you for your tolerance and love in 2023, and we have 52 episodes in 2024, and we are on episode, I don't know, I had to move the website yesterday and I haven't checked it actually worked, but we're nearly up to 60 episodes now, which I think is pretty impressive. Best drum fills was the last one, so this is episode 58. That is not too shabby.
I have a suggestion for another episode. Theme.
Go on.
I'll tell you when we've stopped recording.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin the magic. Emma actually asked me what I'd chosen for the best of 2023 today, and I said, you'll have to listen to the podcast. And she was like, ooh!
This is how we get listeners.
Yeah, so my wife might listen.
Hi, Emma.
Hello, Emma. Love you. Right, I'm going to say goodbye. Do you want to say goodbye?
No.